Hello again, and welcome to this week's episode of More Than the Score, presented by Dubuque Auto Plaza. I'm your host this week, Tim O'Neill, joined by TH Sports editor Jim Leitner. Jim, thanks for joining us. How are you doing this week?
Not too bad. Busy week with tournaments wrapping up and a lot of excitement around the newsroom these days.
Absolutely. A lot of people will say this is one of the best times of the year. March Madness, tournament time and all that. And it's the same thing at the high school level as is going on at the college level right now. It's the postseason, time to crown some champions. And we've had quite a few teams make a nice extended tournament run this year. Jim, what have you seen out of Cascade Cougars? They qualified in Class 2A. Just what did you see out of their tournament run this week?
You know, Cascade was a team that I think a lot of people expected to be really down this year. You know, their longtime legendary coach Al Marshall retired at the end of last season, and he took a lot of really good seniors along with him after they finished second for the best finish in school history. But the Cougars really battled back all season long. They finished with a 22-3 record, got back down to the state tournament for the fourth straight year. They just ran into a familiar team in the state tournament. They played River Valley Conference rival Comanche and got beat 58-48 on Monday night in the Class 2A quarterfinals. But it says a lot about that team that they were able to have the kind of year they had and make a run out of the state tournament. You know, even though it was basically a whole new team, whole new coach. You know, a lot of difficulties to overcome this year, but they did. And you know, I think a lot of that has to do with Coach Jacob Brindle, you know, really carrying over what Al Marshall has preached for all these years, and the foundation of their game is defense.
Sure, and a lot of times we talk about tradition in a program, and Cascade obviously has that tradition. You look at one of our other teams that qualified for the Iowa State basketball tournament, and they don't really have that state tradition at Dubuque Hempstead, who qualified in Class 4A. Their quarterfinal was on Wednesday. Jim, just what did you see out of the Mustangs as they made their state tournament debut?
Well, do you want to talk about the first half, or do you want to talk about the second half? The first half, Hempstead was dynamic. They were outstanding. They were the faster team. They out-rebounded Cedar Rapids Kennedy. They outplayed him in every single phase of the game, and really, they were really dominant. They actually had a 21-point lead at points in the first half, and you know, they looked like they were a team that could possibly make a run to Saturday night. But the other thing that they did a lot of was they got into a lot of foul trouble. You know, in the first half, a lot of their key players had 3 fouls, and you know, that translated over to the second half. They had 4 fouls, so they had to play a little bit tentatively in the second half against Kennedy. You know, and Kennedy came back to beat them. It was actually 55-47 on Wednesday, and you know, it's kind of a tough pill for the Mustangs to swallow. But you know, again, it's a great accomplishment to get down to Des Moines.
Well, I think I saw that Kennedy scored 26, maybe a little off on that, but I think it was 26 points at the free throw line. So obviously, you know, those free shots can make a big difference in the game if you get there enough. Yeah,
you know, and Hempstead is a really good, aggressive team, and I think they might have just been a little bit overly aggressive at times, you know, and that's kind of what led to, you know, their foul trouble. You know, another big key aspect for them was Curtis Martin III. You know, he's a guy who came off the bench and scored 19 points all in the first half. You know, so he was a big reason why they had such a nice lead. It didn't seem like he could miss it all. But then again, you know, the foul trouble kind of caught up to him. Kennedy went on a 19-2 run in the third quarter. And at that point, you know, Kennedy took the lead, and I think Hempstead started to feel it a little bit. And, you know, unfortunately, they got knocked out in the first round. But, you know, Hempstead's a team that has a lot of underclassmen who will be back next year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them have another outstanding season next year and possibly make another run to Des Moines.
Absolutely. We'll be waiting to see that. That's it for Iowa. We do got a couple of sectional semifinals in Wisconsin Thursday night. Darlington, Shullsburg, and Platteville are all within 2 wins of the state tournament. If they win on Thursday, they'll play again on Saturday to go to the state tournament in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and you actually, when speaking of historic runs, actually you covered East Dubuque boys basketball team. They went farther than any other team in school history. What can you tell me about the run they made and how close they came to make it to the state tournament in Peoria?
Well, it really was a fantastic season for East Dubuque. In talking with Coach Eric Miller, they had like 7 20-win seasons in the last 9 years, but they had never quite hit 30 wins. They got to 31 this year. They had never played beyond the sectional semifinals. They got 2 games beyond that. They won a regional sectional championship and then advanced to the super sectional, just 1 win away from the state tournament, and just ran into a really tough team from Chicago Hope Academy. But East Dubuque, they've got a lot of young players, only 1 senior on the team. He's a senior and one of their top scorers, so it's going to be a hole to fill. But the future looks really bright for East Dubuque with the number of young players they got, and considering they got as far as they did, the future looks really bright, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see them back in the super sectional next year, and maybe getting a chance to get down to Peoria and play in the state's Final Four.
It's really tough to make it in Illinois too. I don't know, they have to win 5 or 6 games just to get to the state tournament.
6, I believe.
6. I mean, it's obviously it's a much bigger state and everything, but how tough is that? How tough is that road, to keep winning and keep surviving and advancing in Illinois to try to make it to Peoria?
It really is tough. I mean, we've never had an area boys team make the Illinois Super Sectionals before this year, according to research from Brennan West.
Well, actually, we had River Ridge made it early in the 1990s, but
okay.
But I mean, that's 25 years ago that River Ridge made it. So I mean, that's speaks a lot that it's not easy to make it that far.
Right, and the early part of the tournament, a lot of it is a Northwest Upstate Illini Conference tournament. So you're playing teams that you've seen 2 and 3 times this year. Even in the sectionals, East Dubuque played Orangeville and Freeport-Acquin, both of which are from the NUIC. East Dubuque, it was the 3rd time they'd played Orangeville, the 2nd time they'd played Acquin. So the familiarity with all of these teams is very much a struggle for some teams. And then when you get to the super sectionals, you're going to be playing a very, very good team. In the case of East Dubuque, they were playing Chicago Hope Academy, and yeah, it's 1A. But this is a private school recruiting from Chicago, which is some of the most fertile recruiting ground in the nation as far as basketball players. So that was a quality program they went up against. And, if they could have hit a few more shots, they might have had a chance to get a little closer in that game. And who knows what could have happened if it didn't get out of hand late in the 4th quarter. But just a really, really tough road to get to the state tournament for teams from this corner of the state.
I think that should pretty much do it for our winter season. Like you said, we have a few teams in Illinois or Wisconsin, but that should pretty much do it for the winter season.
Yeah, after next week, we'll be down to softball and baseball, soccer, track, golf, tennis. We'll have all the coverage for you in the Telegraph Herald. So that'll do it for us for this week on More Than the Score, presented by Dubuque Auto Plaza. I'm Tim O'Neill. He's Jim Leitner. We'll see you next week.